4, Dustin Martin.
He's a great person and a great leader.
He's an absolute star.
There is nothing you can't do, Dusty Martin.
Fend off, the strength, the balance, the power.
A man that we need to start talking about is probably the best Tiger ever.
He is just remarkable for our game, remarkable for the Tigers, and he's a wonderful story in itself.
So Barry Cable and Dusty Martin, the only players in the history of the game to have 20 disposals, multiple goals in 3 grand finals.
Probably the best resume currently in football and probably in the last 20 years, to be honest.
Champion of the game, an incredible player, the way that he can impact games.
They're making the statue now, Bruce. Does it go to Punt Road or the MCG?
I can't put it into words how much I love this football club, this bunch of boys.
The thing that I love about this footy club is we don't actually really care who gets the touches, who kicks the goals.
Martin, brute strength, Dustin Martin at the Richmond end of the ground.
Dusty, oh Dusty, that is classic Dusty.
This was Dusty Martin. That's what great players do.
And the winner of the Norm Smith medal, Dustin Martin. Dustin Martin. Dustin Martin.
I declare the winner of the 2017 Brownlow medal, Dustin Martin, the Richmond Football Club.
Thanks to the fans for coming out. Yellow and black! Yellow and black!
Let's go!
Back in 1999, my wife and I had the local general store in Campbell's Creek. So a lot of people would come into the shop and we'd get to know them. And Dustin Martin's family was one of the, in particular, that we got to know. All of the Martin boys and my 2 boys went to the local primary school here in Campbell's Creek. And they all had an interest in playing footy. That's how the boys ended up all here at Campbell's Creek Football Netball Club. When it came time to appoint a coach for the under-12s, no past player or current player took up the role, so I decided that I would. Distinctly remember Dustin turning up to registration day. His Uncle Dean was the parent guardian to sign his registration form. We knew back then, all of us on the committee, we knew that he had talent because he could kick left and right foot at that age. Did we know that he was going to go on to be the superstar that he has? Who would ever imagine? And we at Campbell's Creek both said, we're proud as punch that we know where he came from. Dustin was always one of the first kids to walk up. He wouldn't wait for Mum to pick up him and his 2 brothers. He would already be up here before any other kid trying to kick goals on angles in a St Kilda guernsey. He wore that St Kilda jumper to training, to school, to bed. But when he left the juniors here, he went to live in Sydney with his dad. He was up there for a couple of years, I think, helping Shane with his trucking business. Then he came back to the area and played with Castlemaine, and then was spotted by talent scouts and went to the Bendigo Pioneers, and from there he was drafted.
In 2008, I think there were 4 rounds to go. I drove up to Bendigo to watch Bendigo Oakley just as a standard TAC Cup game, as you would then. It became apparent very early in the game that this kid, who I'd never seen before, stood out. Not through his volume of work, but just what he did. And I thought, oh my goodness, I haven't seen this kid before. So I found out it was Dustin, and he was 17-year-old, so he wasn't eligible for the draft. That was the first time I actually saw him or knew of his name. Given I thought he was so super talented, I followed up again and saw him when Bendigo must have played another side that had plenty of draftable players. And again, he just stood out as being a potential, first round pick, clearly because of his talent, an early first round pick. I organised a manager. They keep tabs on the other teams and what they're doing, so I organised this whilst he was still, this is in 2008, whilst he was still 17. We didn't go all that well in 09, and we had pick 3.
Francis was adamant he was our guy, and it was my first year, and I sort of lent it over the recruiters. I hadn't watched a lot of under-18 footy, but I remember watching his tapes and he was just dominating. Yeah, he was doing the things at under 18 level that you saw in AFL level, like just taking blokes on, rolling them over, pushing them over.
I remember before the draft, Francis Jackson saying, "Oh, we got to keep this under wraps. There's this great young footballer that I think we can get him. I think we can get him." He likes everybody he drafts, but he was particularly keen on him because he'll be a Brownlow medalist one day, and he doesn't say that very lightly.
Melbourne had 2 picks prior to us, and we weren't sure what they were going to do. Sydney were very keen on Dustin, and they wanted to trade 6 and 14 for our pick 3. Now, normally you would discuss that and you would take time, but we didn't even discuss it. It was never going to happen.
Good evening and welcome one and all to the 2009 NAB AFL Draft.
I do recall very vividly his manager ringing me and saying, "Guess what? Melbourne are taking Tom Scully and Jack Trimgrove, who are both terrific players." So we did something unusual. I organised to have lunch with his mum and his grandma. I actually told them that we were taking Dustin at pick 3, unless something radically changed, that Dustin was going to be a Tiger.
Selection number 3. Player number 210-220. Richmond, Dustin Martin, Bendigo Pioneers.
The time that I first met him was actually on draft night. I went up there and I had to present, I shook his hand because we were obviously going to pick him, and he had to take off his Bendigo Pioneers TAC shirt and put on a Richmond one, and he sort of basically threw it to me. I didn't even know whether he knew I was a coach at that stage, to be perfectly honest, but I remember meeting him for the first time. He's quiet, as you imagine. He's not an overly loud person. But we had dinner that night. You know, it was one of those ones you sort of look back on and think it was a very quiet start to an illustrious career.
I remember his first training session at the first year players. They were doing a running session. I remember Dusty was pushed himself to exhaustion, and I remember just in the back of my head thinking, like, that guy, he may not be super fit right now, but he knows how to push himself already. I think the following training session, when those guys could actually join into drills, it was really obvious how good he was straight away. You know, as a first training session 18-year-old, you normally stand at the line and you look out of sorts with your baggy jumpers, and you don't want to get involved, where he was just straight into the thick of it and had the ball the whole time.
When you're doing drills, you could see he was 2 steps ahead of everyone else. He could see things that others couldn't, and he could bring players into the play. And as soon as you put a footy in his hand, you know, just caught the eye every time he had a session. His ability to hit passes from 55 metres away and they'd be 5 metres off the ground, it was just mind-blowing to watch him early days.
Every drill he was in, he gave his absolute all. He didn't really know how to take his foot off the pedal. Like, if he was in the drill, he was dominating the drill.
I was talking to a player from another club, a retired player, the other day, and he said, "You know, we started tagging Dustin from his second game." He said, "I'd never seen anything like it," as we just couldn't believe how good he was.
Game on! 2010 season underway. Mitchell Robinson crashing in.
And here's Martin, a hot draft pick for Richmond. Here's the first game of Martin. Off to his lot, he gives it back to Martin.
Good opportunity here for the Tigers. They go for home, and Martin seals the goal for Richmond.
He's only in his second game of official AFL footy, and he just looks poised.
McVeigh, Martin, brilliantly done. Oh, that's a signature from the young fella, isn't it?
Goal attack from just inside 50, and Dustin Martin slams home another one.
He's an unbelievable player, Dustin Martin. He's leading disposals for Richmond with 7. And you see why he was the number 3 pick in the national draft last year.
Martin on the bike, check sides it. How does it bounce? It bounces through. He's kicked 3.
As the clock counts down, he's kicked it magnificently. That was halfway up the post. What a talent.
He's an intriguing character, and I think when most of us look at him, we see freakish talent.
May be a very dangerous proposition.
There's still some question marks about him, and he still needs to put it together again before we put him in officially that elite category. But the signs, I reckon, Gary, were really, really good.
Coming out of contract 2017, we actually were going reasonably well at that stage, but you know, Dustin's contract was probably a distraction, if that makes sense. You know, it was in the news every day. And
Plenty of intrigue surrounding Dustin Martin.
Well, I wish they'd hurry up and get it done because I think it's becoming very boring. The management of Dustin Martin has made it very clear that nothing will be done until Richmond's last game.
I think we had a meeting at the start of the year knowing that we were out of contract at the end of the year. We both sat there and agreed that I would take care of the business and he would play good footy.
One thing I generally tried not to do as a coach is get involved in the contract of players. My thoughts are if they're happy enough in their football environment, things will take care of themselves. I never begrudge a player looking for better opportunity or more money, if I'm completely honest.
We spoke to a number of clubs. I think it's been pretty public who they are. In the end, I think the North Melbourne deal was a lot higher than the Richmond deal.
I must admit it was getting more and more concerning every time the season went on, and there was a couple of stages where he probably withdrew, if I'm being completely honest, throughout the season. He'd always give me, yeah, everything's okay, but there's a couple of times where I thought, geez, maybe he's going to leave.
Richmond superstar free agent Dustin Martin has spent the day weighing up a massive multi-million-dollar contract in Auckland.
I thought there was a couple of real turning points. The famous meeting that Dusty and I had with Shane Martin, and we went over to New Zealand to discuss the pros and cons, and I thought we should stay. We all agreed. You know, Shane agreed, Dustin agreed. And then secondly, the last home and away game of 17 was against St Kilda. I remember Dustin coming off the ground in the last quarter as he did it, and I remember the whole crowd getting on their feet and just applauding Dustin off.
Look at the Richmond supporters, they're on their feet applauding their hero.
And I just thought, wow, I mean, how could you leave this club?
I still remember the exact time that he rang me and where I was, the exact moment where he told me that he was staying. And I was sitting there around a kitchen bench, saw the phone call, and he told me he was staying. And I'm not going to lie, I squealed like a 12-year-old schoolboy.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Footy Show. As you can see, the biggest decision in football is about to be made.
There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Dustin Martin staying at the Richmond Tigers for 7 years.
It was so exciting. It was on the eve of the finals. It was just the boost that I think we needed at that stage to make sure that we took our game to the next level. And look, Dustin will always say that he was never leaving and all that, and his heart was well and truly in Richmond. I think we can see that now, but I was definitely worried with the money that they were talking that there might be a possibility it could go, because it was life-changing.
In 2016, I think it was November, I had a barbecue at my house and Dusty said he was going to come along, and I think he brought Josh Caddy with him, who was a new recruit at that point. They were talking about all the different teams, and then they mentioned Richmond, and there was a bit of a really. And Dustin, who's normally quiet, as we all know, came out and said, no, we'll win the flag in 17. And we all looked at him as if to say, what? I pulled him aside later in the evening and said, hey, Dustin, what was that about? He said, I'm serious. We're going to win the flag in 17. And I went, wow, okay.
Night one, game one, win one for the Tigers. Martin's a chance from there. Can he beat the round? You bet he can, Dusty. 3 in a row, Tigers.
Snaps it towards goal and kicks a sensational goal.
And then the fend off from Martin. How many times have we seen it? But this time, surely Dusty will kick a go. He has.
Martin with the stiff arm again. Did well. They slide in every direction. He's got this online. Griggs got a mark. Turn goal.
Martin again, can he add to the tally? That is just something special. It's brilliant.
Siren sounds. Tigers are into the top 4 and have got the double chance.
Okay, you're finally there. Yeah, looking forward. Starting here with the top 4. It's bloody exciting. Still got a way to go, but it's exciting.
2017, the way Dustin started the year for us was enormous. He had an open goal against Carlton round 1 and gave it to Dan Butler.
Martin cocks it up beautifully and gives the kid a chance. Gives Butler his first goal in AFL.
It was really something we could reflect back to as a team when we wanted to be unselfish and highlight our best player doing that.
Through the whole 2017 season, clearly he was the best player in the competition and gone to new heights. So we just got it right. We got Dustin's role right, we got everything right, and then he was the unstoppable force in 2017. It's one of the most remarkable years of football, I think, in Richmond history, but in AFL history.
Somewhere along the way, we got in the habit of Dustin predicting we would win. And so I would say, are we going to win? And he would text me, yes, we're going to win. It soon became just 100%. Then I think it was in the lead to the finals of 2017, and I thought, oh, there's a lot of pressure on, I'm not going to text. And I saw him in the rooms, and he said, how come you didn't text? So I thought, he said, this is part of my routine now. I get to reply to this.
Should be Martin. Dusty. Oh, Dusty. That is classic Dusty.
Martin, brilliant roving. Handball over the top. Lambert. How's that start from the Tigers? Dusty. Dusty. The Tigers are into the grand final.
It was bloody awkward being at the Brownlow when you're playing in the grand final, that's one. But when you got a bloke who you think's going to win it, is the odds-on favourite's going to win it, is another thing as well. You just like, we were there for him that night, full well knowing that the business was coming the next weekend, and I think Duz just wanted it over and done with.
Richmond, D. Martin, 3 votes. I declare the winner, the 2017 Brownlow medal, Dustin Martin of the Richmond Football Club.
But I remember really chuckling in that sort of front row when Bruce interviewed him. The people outside of Richmond never really get to see him. But it's this moment of the master of Bruce and the master of Dustin.
The 2017 AFL Grand Final underway.
He's got it. The champ's got it. The one-on-one that they want to create, and they got it with a quick takeaway. He's had a very good first half. This will top it off. He's got it. They've kicked away. Martin front spot. Martin's got it. And Dusty hooking. Oh, that's it. Oh, yeah.
The Tigers are going to win the Premiership in 2017. The Tigers have got home for the first time in 37 years.
The final siren, obviously being close to Duz and Grigor, when that siren went, we sort of facilitated it, but it was special to just be there and just grab each other and celebrate that moment.
He played well, the whole team played well, but there was the question about whether it was Basher Hooley or whether it was Dustin.
The winner of the 2017 Norm Smith medal is Dustin Martin from the Richmond Football Club.
Winning a Norm Smith could be the greatest thing someone could ever do, and he didn't actually care about it. He's almost one of the types that would prefer not to win it and someone else win it, so he could just celebrate with the team and not be put out in lights. I think that's the best part, that he hates those individual accolades, yet he can't stop winning them.
He's so popular off the field, and it's not only with Richmond supporters. I've been down the street with Dustin, and it's the Essendon supporter, the Collingwood supporter, all the other supporters from all the different teams come up to him and admire the way he plays.
The Tiger Army, who just loves everything about the club and the players, and when we're winning, you can't get enough. I was more concerned about what would it be like to be him, and how do you go out and have a meal? How do you manage all of that? And at the same time, you can't stay locked in your house. And I think just the times that I still go places and people want to stop me that I don't know and talk about 2017, 2019, 2020. And I think, well, what would it be like if you were the star player in all of those great victories? And what would that life be like?
I always thought that Dusty would become a good brand ambassador because he was authentic and honest with taking on products, and that's where it works. And we worked on it early on, and he continues to do that to this day.
The Tigers are premiers for the 12th time in their history.
That year was important for all of us, like the year of redemption, as Kane Lambert stated it the year before at the Best and Fairest, is that we needed that one to for us, we needed to re-establish that we were the best team in the competition.
I think the 2019 one where he kicked that ball to Martin.
This man is playing a great game. Pickett as well. Picks it up cleanly. Composed. Sets up Martin. Pickett. Take a bow. You have been superb. Looking to give it off here. And there, guess who? Gave it to the man that set it up for him. Marlon Pickett lines up.
That was a pretty special moment. That was a pretty special grand final. You know, the Marlon story was incredible. But for then to Dustin to sit there and you could see what Dustin was thinking, telling Marlon where to go, you know, and then to see a guy that was prepared to put his teammate in a better place to kick that goal was a pretty special moment. And, you know, I still remember the roar to this day when I still remember it on the TV of watching that ball go through behind the goals and the crowd noise. And in fairness, I think the GWS supporters were cheering as well.
3 and a bit months, me and Duz lived across from each other. We actually did everything together. Seafood Sunday was a big thing up there. We had wine club on Tuesday nights where we'd sit around and have a glass of wine and talk absolute garbage. But after every game, we used to sit down and just play music and pass the phone around and just everyone take a track and everyone would be claiming the good songs that Duz started that. That's one of his great traits is that he could really bring a group together. And funnily enough, we were actually going to leave that hub of where we were and go to another resort with other clubs, and it was one of the things that helped us win the grand final is that we had our own environment. We were in a small sort of student share accommodation style building, and Duz really pushed that.
Left Martin around the body, high ball, he's got it.
That goal just before half time. The moment I think that he sort of shrugs, I think Reece Stanley and Dangerfield and kicks that little snap and just that little cheeky look. That was just that, you just knew what he'd done was pretty bloody cool. Yeah, pretty bloody special.
Spills to Martin, little right foot slider along the ground, he's got another one. Martin's kicked another one.
All goals that he kicked in that game, I still remember them all. I reckon I could still call them goal for goal. And all 4 of them were like goal of the week winners. They were incredible.
Lambert found Martin, broke the tackle, got a skinner. Martin, can it be 3? It is. Dusty's kicked 3.
Martin to put pressure. Still with Martin. Can he kick a 4th? Oh, he has.
I don't think I've ever seen a player that loved winning, but also the process of winning as much as Dustin. He played it for finals. He plays footy to play finals and to play in premierships.
I couldn't go because it was COVID. Dustin said, don't worry, I'm going to FaceTime you straight after the game. The first thing he says to me, I'm expecting him to say, we won. But first thing he says to me is, how good was Gary Ablett Jr.'s career? And I thought about this afterwards. That kind of summed up Dustin.
We had a little after-match party the next day sort of thing, and there's a guy that, DJ Fisher, who was up on the Gold Coast at this stage anyway. I think Dustin paid the guy 20 grand to come down and play 3 songs. Him and Fish have hit it off, obviously, and have become pals ever since.
More champagne hit the roof of the buildings we were in than hit mouths. As much as he was the leader of the football team and the icon of the football team, he was the leader of the celebrations as well. He just we celebrated and had fun because we'd done something awesome.
Oh, look, he'll go down as one of the all-time greats. You know, Richmond Football Club, absolutely, but the game in general.
The team was able to win the games, but we had a pretty special person that did a lot for us.
To watch him play and to watch him grow, not only as a football player, but more importantly as a person, and to see the man he's come out on the other side, we couldn't be prouder, I think, as a footy club, as a coach, you know, as a friend.
We all owe him a bit. We owe him so much, but I know that he would think that he was just doing his job, and he'd be grateful for the support of everyone else too.
Because he's got tats and kind of has this demeanour where you might think he wouldn't care too much and just naturally goes out and does it. He's very dedicated and has a lot of pride in his football.
And not only got to get emotional, still speak about it now, but Dustin, but our footy club. overall. And you know what I learnt about Dustin is he just loved life, and I learnt more off him than probably he learned off me.
When I think about the legacy that he leaves, it's just been a tremendous effort from someone who's been so disciplined and so driven for team success.
He's still one of my favourite people in the world. You know, it means the world to me, it means the world to Richmond, and hopefully it means the world to the AFL community, because he's a special, special person that's been an incredible player for a long period of time.